Hey, welcome to the 40 Finance channel, everybody. My name's Jeff Beers. Yesterday, the NASDAQ composite fell about 4%. And anytime I see a nosedive like that in the NASDAQ, I know that I got to be careful looking at my dumpster fire portfolio. And if this is your first time on the channel, know that I have a ton of money invested in NASDAQ stocks, particularly like QQQ stocks, and I even started a position in the TQQQ, which is the 3x leverage version of the QQQ. All of that happening this year. Now, those investments in NASDAQ stocks were 100% tactical, right? In the sense that I knew it was going to be a bumpy ride for the NASDAQ this year. I think everybody knew that. But my hope was to find the bottom and continue buying into the bottom and looking ahead long term for the inevitable recovery. We don't know if it'll be this year, next year, hard to really tell, but I am not trading to make a profit on a daily basis. I'm looking out for the longer term gains. In this video, we'll take a look at where my positions stand, and I actually just updated my full portfolio calculator, which takes into account things like dividends, realized gain loss, etc. So we'll get the full update on the dumpster fire. Let's jump in. All right, this is a live look at my Ally Invest retail/taxable brokerage account. It's really hard to go through an Ally on the screen to really sort things in the way that I like to do it. So we'll actually be using my connected Seeking Alpha account, which will get us a better view on each of these holdings. And as we're going through this dumpster fire portfolio here on Seeking Alpha, I do want to call out, if you're interested in learning more about the tools that I use every day here on Seeking Alpha, my affiliate link is in the description. You get a free trial as well as a substantial discount on a 1-year subscription, and of course, potentially support the channel at the same time. Let me squeeze this in here a little bit so we get all of the columns going. And I have this sorted by value, right? So not necessarily the cost basis, but the value of where it stands today. And obviously up top, you have the QQQ. My cost, $364 a share. That is actually down 20% this year, which, to be honest, that's surprising. It feels like a lot more. I've bought QQQ shares much higher than 364, maybe even close to 400, something like that at the beginning of the year. But I've slowly been chipping away at that cost basis and will continue to do so. Next up, we've got Visa, 65 shares. I'm in at 190. The stock today is at 197, so this is one of the few positives coming in just below 13,000. PayPal's been a huge loser for me, as we've talked about many times. I'm still at 168. I haven't added any PayPal here recently, down 51%. Zillow, who started to buy back some of their shares recently, and for whatever reason, Zillow's stock price has been going up. And you see today it's plus 8.7%. I don't know if that has to do with the buyback or not, but it's good news for me. I'm still in too high at 67, but if you watch the videos, you know that I'm looking at Zillow. Listen, real estate's a mess right now. Nobody really knows which way the market's going to go, and Zillow doesn't necessarily need a hot real estate market to do well. They make money in many different ways. So I'm in at 67. I'm down 34%, but I may be adding more to that. I probably will as the year goes on, but I'm just not in a hurry considering the headlines that are coming out of real estate right now. All right, next up is TJX. I think that this is my only other winner. Thankfully, TJX had a pretty good earnings report, particularly on from a margin standpoint. They're at 61. $48 is my cost basis, and I bought these TJX shares a couple years ago. I added some during the pandemic. This is a candidate for me to sell, mostly because I've passed the long-term capital gains 1-year horizon, and I could be playing some tax loss harvesting games later in the year. So we'll have to see. All right, next up we have Magnite. I've got a ton of shares in Magnite. I'm really excited about Magnite. It has not had a good year in terms of performance, but generally speaking, it has had a good year in the way that they're building for the future. So I'll just leave it at that. 400 shares, I'm at $20, down just about 50% on that. All right, TQQQ. I know a lot of people ask me questions all the time about this, and I'm still at 45.82. Needless to say, I will be adding more. I've gotten behind on my dollar cost averaging here. I'm at 134 shares, and I would love to buy more, and I will buy more under this $30 mark. I'm so surprised it's under 30, but that's the reality that we live in. Soup to nuts. I was 45, it's now 28. I'm down 37%. No, I am not concerned at all. And like I said, I will continue to add to this position. Don't be surprised if my TQs easily get to 200 shares plus throughout this year. Rocket, same trouble as Zillow, right? Things don't really look good in the short term. However, Rocket is buying back shares. Up today for some reason, plus 5%. Rocket's at about $9 right now. You know, I'm a little bit over $18 a share, so minus 50%. And truth be told, 2022 doesn't look like a phenomenal year for Rocket Mortgage. However, they are also doing share buybacks, and they typically do some special dividends. We'll have to see if that happens. Square, $89, way too high for me. I'm in at 217. I will probably try to buy 10-ish shares of Square at some point, but I will say that it is lower on the priority list. I am down 60%, 58% plus. DraftKings gotten killed like all high growth names. I am not worried about DraftKings. My particular thesis for 2024, 2025 is still in place. However, $33.11 cost basis needs some management. And it wouldn't surprise me if this rounds up to 300 shares throughout the year. And the great thing about DraftKings is I have really zero expectations for it through the summer when betting season is a little dry. But I do expect some bounces for this one. Maybe not $33, but I do expect it to bounce again back in football season when the headlines change and sports gambling comes back into focus. As of today, though, minus 56%. All right, how about Palantir? Palantir getting destroyed. Very disappointing that they backed off essentially their guarantee of 25% revenue growth. However, these are uncertain times. I'm sticking with it. Unfortunately, I'm at the $20 mark. We'll have to see what I do with Palantir. It's not on the priority list right now, but I do not plan to sell it in 2022. I'm down 57%. KWeb, which is Chinese internet stocks. You got Alibaba, JD, Baidu, all those things. I started buying this one around the time they did the China closures. It's not really my cup of tea, Chinese stocks, but I can't pass it up any longer on some of those prices. I'm at 30. This one's at 27.69. So I'm only down 10%, but you see like how small this position is, 69 shares. It would not surprise me if this gets well over 100 shares as the year progresses on, particularly while these prices are underneath my cost basis. Lastly, we have Sabre, which is a travel booking company. I'm just absolutely floored that Sabre is below my cost basis of 11. They're doing a lot of good things. However, they are climbing out of negative wins from the COVID lockdown and airlines canceling like they have. So very apparent that this one is going to take longer than I anticipated. My hope is that by fall, we can get above this number because we'll have the stats in from summer travel season, etc. We'll see how it goes. I don't lose sleep over it because even though I'm down 33%, you can see here that it is, basically a $2,000 investment or so that I've made, and I've lost, 33% on it. I think Sabre has room to go up. However, we'll just have to see how it goes. All right, so I mentioned in the beginning of the video how I updated my personal portfolio tracker calculations, right, to give me the actual number of where my investments stand. A lot of times in your brokerage account, you're going to get that headline number that just represents, your current holdings. So right now, you see in Seeking Alpha minus $40,000. Now that, of course, is your paper wins and losses, but it doesn't take into account things like dividends, any realized gains or losses that you might have had in a year. So that's what I've updated here. You can see in 2020, did pretty well, plus 40%. A lot of people did well in 2020. But then we go down to last year, and at the end of the day, despite deposits, dividends, realized gains, losses, I still ended up minus $17,000 on paper, which is minus 13% for the year. Now, the one mistake I made here, if you were thinking about this, realized gains and losses plus $2,000, should not have paid taxes on $2,000. If I were to rewind time, I sort of lost track of where I sat on this one. I should have at least sold $2,000 in losers to get a tax base of 0, but that's the way it goes, and I missed the opportunity. Now, let's get to the results of 2022, right? So we started same amount that we ended with in 2021, 102,247. Gotten about $10,000 in deposits in the account so far, $500 in dividends. Realized gain so far is $931. That includes sale of Taiwan Semiconductor. It also includes a couple bucks I made off of Amazon, just like 3 or 4 shares that I had there. And then the rebates for Ally this year, it's certainly not on pace for last year, but it's nickels and dimes, $3.06. So that subtotal would be $113,477. So that is the total, money put into the account from Jan 1, right, all the way up to the current time. And you can see what we have. The balance, $75,752. The net gain or loss in this instance, minus $37,000. And that is a percentage loss of minus 33%. So from January 1 to today, despite buying dips, managing cost basis, right, my paper wins, losses, so to speak, are minus 33%. And I got to say, though, it has not changed my outlook for things. So there we go, the dumpster fire portfolio, minus 33% just for this year, minus $37,000. And, the most common question I get in the comments is, what are you going to do, right? Are you going to sell out? The answer to that is absolutely no. Like I mentioned earlier, if I do make a sale, it will be on a positive or something just totally changes, at least for the next 4 or 5 months, right? I don't really want to sell anything in May till I get a better feel for how I'm going to manage tax losses or gains as the year goes on. But even beyond managing tax losses, I feel pretty good with the amount of money that's been chopped out of the market, right? It's tough to say if it's the bottom. It's tough to say, how much further we can go, especially with negative headlines. However, I do feel good that we are seeing these red days in the sense that it provides more opportunity for long-term investors like myself. And I've really sort of changed my mindset in terms of looking at this stuff every day. It is more important right now to go out and make more money, almost no matter who you are, at the bare minimum, because everything you buy is going to cost more, grocery store or otherwise. And for me, I shared on a video a couple weeks ago how it's a weird time for me in terms of cash flow, because you have tax payments this time of year, got to save up for vacations and things that you're doing in the summer. So I don't have a ton of dry powder left. In fact, very, very little. If you're trying to manage a dumpster fire portfolio like me, my best tip would be to go out and make more money. If you're hanging on to these stocks like I am, and the goal is not 2022 or 2023, then this is prime opportunity, right? To go out and get more money in at least index fund. You know, I'm going in on the Qs despite the headwinds that are very apparent at this point. But go out and try to make some more money to pepper away in these accounts, and you know that you might just be feeding a monster or feeding a fire, if you will, here in 2022. But our day will come and the stock market will bounce back and the headlines will get better. Just hard to tell when. All right, guys, let me know how your portfolios are going. And don't forget to check out that Seeking Alpha special offer in the description. I hope everybody's doing well. We'll see you on the next video.